Today we're going to go to chapter 7, which is what is risk. And the reason we have risk is because chapter 7, what is risk? The reason that we have risk is because we have volatility. And you said that volatility is when things change, they go up and down, or things that are not the same. In other words, when I have a line like this, there is no volatility. When I have things up and down, there is volatility. When they go on and do my cardiogram and see how my heart beeps, they see things going up and down. Whenever I will die and they want to give me a death certificate, they will do a cardiogram, and it's going to be a straight line. There is volatility, more or less, whenever things are alive, because you need to have a movement. Movement means things can change, and change can mean to go things up, improvement, or to go things down, deterioration. So change is not always good. It's good when you gain, but it's bad when you lose. But whatever is change is important. I'm here at the Wall Street Journal. The time is 9:30. The market still in the United States didn't start. Whatever I have is a picture here of yesterday's market. And I can be able to see yesterday's market right here in different indices. I can change the index and I will see a different picture. An index is how I measure things. I can go from the Dow Jones Industrial Average to Standard & Poor 500. And I have a different picture. I can see this picture in different time frames. What I see here is one day. Usually when I see that day is either today, if things are going on, or yesterday, if things didn't start yet. I can change the time period. I can go to 5 days. 5 days is a working week period. What we actually do, and the book says, is a time horizon. What is your time horizon? Do you look things in short term or in long term? And short term and long term is relative to how you think about time. Relative to 1 day, 5 days is long term. Relative to 5 days, 3 months is a long day, long time period. You can click here and you can see what's happening in 3 months. You can see what's happening in 6 months. And you can click here and you can find out what is happening for a year. What is happening to the markets? Are going up or down?
Up.
The markets are going up. And you have different indices. Dow Jones Industrial Average, Standard & Poor 500, NASDAQ. NASDAQ is a different market than the others. Russell 2000 and the Dow Jones Total Market Index. You can see what's happening in the United States. Then you move and you go on to Europe. And when you are in Europe, you see what's happening in London, or what's happening in Germany, or what is happening for the stocks in all Europe. And you can go further east. You can see what's happening in Asia. When you are in Asia, you go to my French homeland, in Japan. You see what's happening in Japan. But you can move from Japan and you go to Hong Kong, Shanghai, and see the different cases that you have here. So what do you see between Shanghai and Japan? Do you see anything that is different?
Yeah.
What's happening here? From May, you go from May to now November, there is not much change in Shanghai. But in Japan, from May to September, there is not much change. But from September and after that, there is an increase. Right now, I would focus on stock market all over the world. And I want to see what is happening with that case. You are learning finance at the era of high tech and internet, which means that things are completely different when I was learning finance. When I was learning finance, the most closest piece of information I had was the paper that is published today, and the paper that is published today tells me what happened yesterday. But now you have a smartphone, you have a computer, you're connected to internet, and you know what is happening real time, every particular moment. Because of that, you can be able to react much faster of what you go on. If you go to the United States, and if you go to particular market, NASDAQ, oh, what happened? Before I had a line here, what happened now? I don't have a line. Because the market doesn't start it. I go on to Standard & Poor's 500. Why do I have a line here and I don't have a line here? I go to Dow Jones Industrial Average. Why do I have a line here and I don't have a line here? Because they will start later on at 10 o'clock. If I'm in any particular case, I can double click, and as I will double click here, automatically it brings me to what is happening to the market. And what I would like you to do, I would like you to know how to scroll things down and how to press buttons. From that point on, it's up to you next Monday to tell me what you find out here. It's not in any book, and it's not for me to be able to tell you. You have all your fingers, you can be able to scroll, you can be able to double click, you can be able to click, you can be able to play around and see what is happening. If you click it further, you get more information. And don't tell me that you don't know how to play. You know how to play, but usually you play bad things. Yes?
When the market's closed.
Find out. Find out. So, what do you have here? You have different ways to see things. And already I saw 3 different parts, right? I go back and I see this part, and I go further back and I see this part. And I want you to know what is happening here. I move away from that, I go to Google. Whenever I have Google, I see what is happening in Google Finance, and I want you to explore it here. I want to see what is happening with market summary, what's happening with world markets, what's happening with local markets, what's happening with your stocks. I want you to explore that particular part. And I'm not only there, I want you to go to Yahoo Finance and find out what's happening with Yahoo Finance here. before I look at NASDAQ. And my question is, what is NASDAQ? If I'll ask Dido, he will tell me. He learned it from the previous part. Here says NASDAQ futures. NASDAQ futures is something different than the NASDAQ index. You go on and you see different things. You see, again, time horizon. 1 day, 5 days, 1 month, 3 months, year to today, 1 year, 5 years, more. You can look for different things, but as you want, you can go on and you can see what's happening to a particular company. Yesterday, when I was talking to my friend Bill, that takes care of the computers, and he said, if I was smart, and I said, if I was smart too, I would buy an Apple stock when Apple was almost bankrupt. And at that time, the stock was $24. And now I would be able to have different value. And I would go on, and I would like to look at a given company. The company is Apple. Why do I want to look at Apple? Because I bought several Apple computers. I bought for my kids Apple iPads, and now I'm thinking about getting an Apple Watch. What do you see here? Before you saw two colors, red and green. Green is when things are going up, red things are going down. So what do you see for Apple? Here I have the maximum time horizon that you have for Apple. It starts from the 1st of December 1980, and it goes up to what is happening today. What do you see? There is a period that Apple stock price didn't change much. And that is the period that the Apple stock price did not change much. Are you in this graph there in your computer? Yeah. And I want you to start telling me things that you don't know up to today, and I don't know it by heart. Can you tell me when is the time from where Apple's stock value start increasing? And don't do it like my friend here to write things down. When you write things down, you miss the point. You go on and you do it what he did. And he didn't know it, but he said it first. Principle for finance is to find information and act and react faster than anybody else. You go on, you take the part and you say, okay, around that time, 2004, things change. From 2004 and after, Apple's stock price moved up. If you're here and you double click, what is happening? You see things differently. And if you see things differently, you can be able to play around. And as you can play around, you see two parts here. You can have the control and see what is happening here. You go to any particular point. As you go to any particular point, you know some information. You know when this is happening. You see what else is going on there. So you know the date. you know the stock price went up. You know what is going on at that particular day. And you have 4 pieces of information. You have an opening price, closing price for that particular day. That means that you know for that day what is the range of a price change. And that is extremely important. What do I need? I need for every day to know what is the range that the price can go up or down. If the price goes up, we now record it with green. The price goes up. In the old days that we didn't have color, we recorded it with white. If the price goes down, we record it with red. So within a day, the price moves up or the price moves down. We need 2 extreme points, the starting point and the ending point. And then we have 2 more pieces of information. We have the high value and we have the low value. So we have the high and the low. We have the opening and the closing, or the opening and the closing, based upon if the open and the close is indication of a move up or move down. And we have 2 different ranges. We have the range that is between the 2 extreme points, and we have the range between the opening and the closing. If you take New York Times and you go to the page that you have the weather, it tells you for November 13th, today, we have data for all the period. And it tells you exactly the same information for the temperature. It says what is the coldest temperature that we ever had November 13th, and what was the highest temperature that we had November 13th. And also it tells you what is the normal high and the normal low temperature. And we want to see where we are today. We are within the range of the normal high or normal low, or we are below the normal low today, but much higher than the all-time period. Or we hit an extreme point and we make a new record in history. The logic is the same, and that tells you how the stock is changing. But besides the stock information, we have something else here. And this is recorded as a column. And this is the volume of stocks that we exchange for that particular period, which means something important. And I want you to tell me if you see any particular relationship. Do you see any particular relationship? Why here we have so much trade? Is anything happening?
Stock goes down.
The price goes down. Why here we have so much trading? Why here we have so much trading? The price goes up. Why here we have so much trade? The price goes down. Why here we have so much trade? The price goes up. And this is something that happens recently. Usually, last semester I didn't have colors for the volume of trade. All of them were the same. Now they give me colors. They give me green and red. Why, Daisy?
So that you know when it's setting up or it's going up.
So they want me to know it. When it's red, we have trade because the price goes down. When it's green, we have a trade because the price goes up. Clear? And now I want you to tell me something that you learned in the introduction to business, and when you took economics in high school, you learned it in economics in high school, and if you take economics here, you will take it here. Or if you want to go on and be in business, like in money, she knows it already. And my question is how the price changes, goes up and down. Yeah. Everywhere. It depends upon what. Why the price goes up and down.
So the price usually goes up when like something doing well.
No. When the price goes up. Why the price goes up?
Because a lot of people are buying stocks.
Because a lot of people buying stocks. That means because the demand increases. The demand may increase for many reasons. I went yesterday to CUNY First, and I look at which classes for the next term are already filled up and closed. And then I went to find out why. And in order to find out why, I went not to CUNY First, but to ratemyprofessor.com. And I wanted to look what is going on. And one professor has his class full. And another professor has his class full. Is it because of the same reason or not, Bogdan?
No.
No. And one professor says it's a fabulous professor, 5, and he is very easy, 1. And his class is packed. Why?
Because he had good remarks, good feedback.
And the other professor that has his class packed says he's a good professor, but he's the toughest one that I ever had in my life. And both of them have their class packed. Why?
Other people were doing this as a second option. It was the only option left because the other one was full.
No, all the other classes are open. The only 2 classes that are closed are from 2 professors of the same subject. All of them, they say that there are great professors, both of them, but in one case it says it's easy, in the other case it says that it's very tough. And I have a question. Why the professor who is very tough has his class packed?
Because it says he's a good professor, that means people learn from whatever he's teaching.
And then if this is true, why the other case is also true? Why the professor who is very easy has his class packed? Hmm?
I'm going to say it's because there's 2 completely different audiences. The audience that has...
Correct. Can I find that information? If I go to CUNY First and I look at the grade point average of one class, and I go to CUNY First and I look at the grade point average of the other class, these 2 classes are similar classes or exactly the opposite?
You mentioned there were similar classes.
They are similar or different? I don't know, I'm asking you guys, you know, this is common sense, it's not.
Well, if it is the same class, they are supposed to be similar because all of you in each department had a syllabus that you had to follow up.
Pretty different.
It will be different.
And I'm not a Democrat, because if all of you say one thing and one said something different, I would care what is right and what is wrong. And right and wrong does not have to be with opinion. He is right, she and everybody that follow her are wrong. Why is he right? Can you tell me?
The class set might be more challenging, might have a lower grade for average.
The class is challenging, one class. Only those who want to be challenged, they can take it. The other class is easy. If you get into the class and you are nice and your face is there all the time, you can pass it. What is the difference? The price in one case is high, the price in the other case is low. So what do we have? We have to think about two major things. We have to think about what makes the price. Here we care about the stock price to change. And what makes the price to change is something obvious. Did you take a class in Introduction to Business?
Yeah.
Did you learn about supply and demand?
Yeah.
If you learn about supply and demand, then you know that you can be able to graph it. Or not. Okay, can I believe you? No, I can't. You have to prove it. So I want a volunteer to come and tell me what is happening with the demand and the supply curve. You can count. Can you come and tell me? Can you do it or not?
I'm not sure.
Are you sure? Good.
They want me,
Now, when we have to do graphs, I want you to pay attention. The first thing you have to do is to define what is the axis, the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to know what is the meaning of the horizontal axis and what is the meaning of the vertical axis, because you cannot alter things around. Bogdan, can you tell me what are you doing?
Well, I know how to explain it, but I don't know
No,
how to
you
graph
don't
it.
know anything. You go back and you write. Come up here. Yeah. What did I say? What is important is to know what you name the axis. And the axis is not supply and demand, S and D. What are the axes?
Y and X.
Y and X.
And what is Y and what is X?
Y is the time.
Yeah. And X?
X is the, I don't know.
Go back. Yes, come up.
I was gonna say, wouldn't Y be price? and
Yeah,
X be
price.
quantity?
Correct, come up. And either you know it or you don't know it. And up to now, I don't care if you don't know it or if you know it. But from now on, you know that this is X and this is Y. And I want to be specific. What is the X and what is the Y? Because if you are specific, you can be able to write that Y is dependent upon X. And X and Y is called a variable, Dito will tell you. And a variable is something that changes. And in that case, he said that what is changing is price and
Quantity.
and price affects quantity, but quantity affects price. So what is the most important of that relationship? I would say that the price affects what's happening to quantity. Also, the opposite may be the case. The quantity affects the price. Between these two different alternatives, which one is the dominant? And what is dominant? Which happens most of the time. What's the dominant? The price affects the quantity or the quantity affects the price?
The quantity affects the price.
Do you have new Wall Street Journal today? The Wall Street Journal today on the first page says the biggest corporation, that is a farm corporation, is producing milk and milk products, filed for bankruptcy. And my question is why the biggest milk producer in the country filed for bankruptcy? Is any reason?
Because the quantity, the demand decreased.
Is any reason? And he said something that is important. You see what's the difference if you come from the end of the class to the first row? You say the right answer to the question. The demand for milk decreased, for the real milk. Why the demand for real milk decreased?
Because people are choosing other options of milk. Right?
People are choosing other options of milk. Or people don't want that milk. People want soy milk. Or people want skim milk. But skim milk comes from a cow's milk.
Yeah.
But soy milk doesn't come from cow's milk. And people stop buying milk or milk products. As a result, what did you say?
The demand decreased.
If the demand goes down of the product, what's happening to the price?
The price
And
goes
then
down.
I have a question. Do you drink milk?
Yes.
Yes.
Fine. And you drank milk for the last 10, 20 years since you were kids. And now I want to eliminate the types of the milk. Let's take whatever milk you get. Full, 1%, 2% skim, the same type of a milk. Take the same type of a quantity, a gallon or half a gallon, and take the same producer of the milk. Don't go from one producer to the other. And try to figure out, for the last 10 years, if everything else stays the same, the price of milk went up or down. And that is a question that is a relative question. It's a relative question because usually prices are going up.
Yeah.
And we said 3 weeks ago, when we have to talk about prices, and when we have to talk about prices, we said that there is something that is called inflation. And inflation means what is the price at the time. We call that nominal price. But if we count for inflation, which is how much the prices change, then we can take a particular index, consumer price index, that tells me what it counts for inflation, how the prices are changed. But Dito will tell me that that's a general idea, but the consumer price index has something that is related for food. And it's something that is related for energy. Because food and energy have special usage for us. And I know that today all of you will turn your heat up at home, which means you use more energy. Do you eat more food? And besides that, there is the core inflation that you have here. And if you go to food, you can find out what different type of foods you're talking about. And I want to find out an index for milk. And that is going to tell me how the price of milk is changing. And I want to see, do you know how to use the internet and tell me that information by next Monday? If you say yes, I want to know. From now is 2019. I would assume that all of you are 19 years old. I would not go further down. I will go to 2000, which means that I will take the base of inflation, the year 2000. And I want to know from 2000 to 2019 how much the price of milk increased. I want you to put it in Excel. I want you to make a graph. Then you would be able to say that the price changed. But this is the price because the prices are changing. That affects the nominal price. If you take away the nominal price from the nominal price, the inflation, then you will have the real price. And the real price, I mark it with green, is how the price changed if you take out the effect of price changes. Is the price of milk in real terms more expensive or less expensive than what it was 19, 20 years ago? And I want to see how the prices change. Whenever I want to deal here, is I'm looking at nominal prices, as things change all the time. That's why I have him here. Why do I have him here? Because he told me that there are two factors that are interrelated. One factor, now I take that information from math, is a variable that is, what kind of a variable is this? And then another factor is another variable that is a different variable. One variable is an independent variable, and the other variable is a dependent variable. What is the difference? The difference is that the independent variable affects the dependent variable. So if the price affects the quantity, if I have that particular relationship, then the price is the x, and if the price changes, then the quantity may change. But in math, you also learn that there is something that is called inverse relationship. What is inverse? Going the opposite way. If you go the opposite way, then you will have exactly the opposite case. The independent variable becomes the price, and the dependent variable becomes the quantity. So what is the relationship that you learn in your introduction to business? That the price affects the quantity, or the quantity affects the price? And both of them are happening, but one is more dominant than the other. And I'm passing the role to my buddy here. I want to know what is the independent variable and what is the dependent variable. Correct. Write it in large letters so everybody would see it. How large as I put it. So what did he say here? That the quantity affects the price. The quantity affects the price. That means that you need to tell me what is the demand relationship if the quantity affects the price. Before we move on, is this the case, or I can be able to have the opposite relationship? Let's say, what do I have here? Here I have Latin case 1, and I have Latin case 2. I said that both of them would happen. If both of them would happen, I will have different relationships. I'll have the price that affects the quantity, the price that affects the quantity, Roman 2, or I'll have the quantity that affects the price, Roman 1. What is the case that you learn in your intro to business class? Roman 1 or Roman 2? Okay? He said 1. What did you say 1? Because he said 1.
No, because I convinced me to only the one.
Good. Go to your computer and find out. If you go to your computer, go to Google and ask Google to give you what is happening with demand curve, what would you be able to find out? I'll go into my computer. And I want to find out what is happening. Stay here, I need you. So what do I have?
The second one, option 2.
In other words, you are not telling me the right thing, and you said that's in your book.
It's
Which
option
means I
2.
want you really to know things, and I don't want you to bullshit.
I knew it.
I know you knew it. And now that I have you here in the front, you will see how easy it can be able to get an A. So what is the important point? The quantities affect the price. And today is Wednesday. Right there is a farmer's market. I want you to test. I walked into the farmer's market and I wanted to buy something, apples. And my question is, for the same type of apple, same quantities, the same price early in the morning and later in the afternoon or not?
No.
Who said no? Why not?
Some depends, because sometimes like.
Now,
at the end-
before you go on, are you here because you want to be in business or you want to be here because you want to get a degree? Or to waste your time and money? If you are here because you want to be in business, start thinking. If you are here because you don't have anything else to do and you want to waste your time and money, be here. You're going to get a degree. But if you want to be in business, I want you to know, if I go to the farmer's market, why the prices are changing and how they are changing. The prices are going up or going down.
They're going up.
And he is right. But the important is not that he's right, why the prices are going down.
Is the prices are going up because the demand is going
They're
up?
going up or down?
Down.
The prices of
In the farmer's market today, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they are going up or down of the same product.
up.
Prices will go up throughout the day because you might be selling more and more and there might not be as much.
Okay, I don't want you to come to class. I want you to go to all farmers markets and start looking what is happening to prices. This is not something you learn it in the book. This is something that you learn it on the streets. And I want you to have the street knowledge, yes.
Oh, I read this because like in the morning if you go to farmer's market, everything's fresh and like there's more people to shop there. At the end of the day, the things that they have left, they either donate it or they don't want it to go to waste, so they might sell it for a cheap price.
Why they want to donate apples today since they can sell them tomorrow?
They want by tomorrow. They don't want to sell.
And let's say something else. Which price would change more? The price of an apple or the price of fish?
Apple.
Good. And one says fish and one says apple, and I want to know why apple and why fish. And which price is going to be higher, the morning price or the afternoon price?
The fish price would be the same because it's
And I want you to forget about school and start looking about reality.
Would it be apple more because of the weather?
I don't know. I cannot teach you everything. you already passed intro to business according to your record. And you don't know it. And I want you to know it. And I want you to be street smart so you can be able to do it. Yes.
So, since it's food, it's perishable, so it might be cheaper later on because they don't wanna lose money with it like expiring or going to waste.
Find out. I'm not telling you. I have another question. Why the demand curve is like this? So two things I want you to remember. What is in the horizontal axis and what is in the vertical axis and why. And I want you to write that down. Now, the second thing I want you to know is why the demand curve is a curve like this. And it's not like this. This particular graph here says that this is the demand and this is the supply. Why this is the demand and this is the supply? Is any reason for that? Yes.
So the demand generally most of the time increase when the price up or down.
Okay, that's why I click in this particular graph. So what this graph says, if the quantity increases, what is happening to the price? Declines.
Yeah.
And I go back to my case that I have in today's Wall Street Journal. For the last 20 years, do we produce more milk in the United States or less milk? For the last 20 years, do we have more cows or less cows? And why?
We have more.
And if we have more cows and we produced more milk, then is expected to have lower prices. But if we have lower prices, then the guys that they sell milk cannot be able to make a lot of milk. And I have another question. Why do we produce more milk?
Because more demand.
When I was teaching Intro to Business, I was asking students to write a paper, and one of my students who was from Serbia and her parents immigrated here to the United States, and she finished CUNY at the Arts College, and now she is a designer for jewelry, wrote a paper about Greek yogurt. And she said in her paper, the Greek yogurt is possessing environmental troubles to the United States. I'm leaving that part out for the reason that for the regular yogurt, you need X amount of milk. For the same amount of Greek yogurt, you need 4 times that amount of milk. Why? Because you strain it. And as you strain it, you create an acid liquid. Whatever you keep is the yogurt. It's better yogurt, but it requires more milk. If it requires 4 times more milk, you need to have more cows. For that particular reason, the price of a Greek yogurt must be higher than the price of a regular yogurt. How much higher? If you need 4 times the amount of milk, can you say that you need 4 times higher price? And if you go on and you do your shopping and you buy yogurt, why there is so much variation of the prices that you have? And I want you to be a business student, which means what? Pay attention to what is happening and read what is happening in the Wall Street Journal. So I'm reviewing everything that I want you to know by Monday. By Monday, I want you to go on and tell me about price changes from the time you were born to now for particular items that you use, like milk, like bread or flour. I want to know what is happening with the stock markets. And you can be able to go to Yahoo Finance, Google Finance, and Wall Street Journal. You can click and you can find out. I'm gonna quiz you on Monday, what do you know? And I want you to know as much as possible, and I want you to know it with your cell phone all the time. And I want you to go and review what is happening with the demand and supply curves and how that would be utilized in the stock market valuation that we have.